Hi everybody and welcome. This is Questions. I'm Kirsten Winkler of kirstenwinkler.com and today I got questions for Matt Messenger, the Director of Learning at StudyBlue.com. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks, Kirsten. Great to be here.
Yeah, you're a pro, as I said in our prior talk. So, you know, EduQuest and now so today I'd like to talk a little bit about flashcard learning with you. Flashcards as a feature or a full company and product. Um, let's start maybe with why has flashcard learning established itself as one of the fastest growing niches in the online educational market, and many startups are taking on that and building something around flashcards?
I think that's a great question. I think there are a couple reasons for the prevalence of flashcards. I think one is the simplicity. Flashcards are easy to use, and I think also what's very important too is that they translate well to an online environment. I think students for generations have been writing flashcards on paper, and in terms of changing behavior, it's not a big shift for users and students to go from writing flashcards on paper to having them be online. And so it's a baby step, if you will, for students to be able to do that, students of all types. So I think that's why it's conducive to moving it online. And I think also what's helpful in terms of the generating popularity for flashcards is something that's very easy for students to do online, and also translates very well to mobile devices. We've heard so much about the growth of mobile and learning, and flashcards translate very well to mobile devices. But then I think a big part of it too is just that flashcards have been a classic way to learn for generations for a reason. They really align well with the research. Like, for example, if research shows that if you want to become a master in a certain subject area, you've got to learn the basic content knowledge. And flashcards are a great tool for doing that. Research also talks about the importance of organizing content into understandable partitions or chunks. And flashcards force students to do that. You create a flashcard set for a vocab unit or for learning about causes of World War II or the Roman Empire. So that partitioning, the research shows, is very important in learning. So flashcards align well with the research, I think, is another reason why flashcards are growing in popularity. There are other reasons, too, in terms of the research we can delve into, but that's a list in my mind of kind of why flashcards are popular in terms of e-learning.
Yeah, I'm happy that you covered both sides, the learner side, as they are for generations used to do it on paper, and you explained very well that the step is relatively easy and logic to bring it online. But then also from the scientific side, so can you unfold this a little more? Is it really proven that flashcards are an efficient method of learning? And if you know, can you tell us a little bit what goes on in one's brain when we use or learn with the help of flashcards?
Well, there's been definitely a lot of research about the cognitive processes that are similar to what happens in flashcards. Like, for example, we know that research shows that when students test themselves and assess themselves, they learn more. They challenge their brain to make sure that they actually know what they're learning. And so flashcards have, for generations, been an easy way for students to self-test and challenge themselves. So from a cognitive perspective, that's been proven that if students are reaching and challenging themselves to make sure they know what they think they know, and flashcards can be a tool for that. That helps. I think, secondly, what's really important, too, from the research is that we're learning that mastery and expertise comes from deliberate practice. Kay Anders Erickson is a leader in this research area, and I'm sure you've heard about him, and Malcolm Gladwell has popularized that in his writings, too. But it's true that it takes deliberate practice to be able to gain expertise in something. Deliberate practice is practicing in your zone of proximal development, to use the lingo term, which is making sure that the flashcards are challenging enough to be interesting to the student and engaging, but not so challenging they're overwhelming, and also not too easy so that they're boring. And so that practicing in that zone, if you will, is really important, and that's something that we're working on at StudyBlue, is how can we adapt the flashcards to the individual learner so that they arrive at the student in their zone of proximal development.
This is very interesting. Have you done some modifications already since you, let's say, launched the product till what it's like today? That upon the research or probably feedback you gained from users, you changed some things about how StudyBlue works?
We have, but to be frank with you, we're still at the very early stages of flashcards and of adaptive learning. And so we have a plan for moving forward, but I'd say us, along with most others in the market, are not where we think we will be in 2 or 3 years in terms of being able to personalize and adapt the learning process. Right now, we're getting users and we're gathering data on how students are using StudyBlue, what their results are, and then going from there. So I think we're still across the board, speaking for StudyBlue and also I would say for the industry on the whole, for the most part, still very early days when it comes to adaptive learning and personalizing learning. I think we'll get there. The industry will get there, StudyBlue will get there, but it's still very early.
And I feel a little bit the same about the whole field of the neuroscientific research, that we know relatively few things about our brain or how it actually works. So probably this is a whole field of very interesting and innovative things, though probably at present day in 2011 we know relatively few about how our brain actually puts all those information and things together.
What's interesting, I think that we thought collectively, kind of the academics and the learning research, we thought we knew how people learn. I think we have a decent grasp of it, but I think our notion of learning is changing in the last 1 or 2 years, as you said, through the discoveries of the neuroscientists. And for example, we're learning that if students study in areas with different background noise, that could be beneficial. So if I'm studying in a coffee shop and then I move and study the same material in a library, having the different background ambient noise or lack of noise, that helps in the process too.
Wow.
So
yeah.
we're learning about that, and that's something that's brand new over the last couple of years. We're also learning about being able to study in short sessions. We know that students these days, it's a broad statement, but I think it's true, have short attention spans, and if students can study in short focused sessions, that can help their learning as well, and that can actually work in terms of having students learn. So while we did have a good base of learning, and a lot of that still holds true, there is some evolution in the understanding that's definitely influencing what we're doing at StudyBlue, and we're excited about it too because we think that mobile learning is very important, and if students can take their flashcards and again study in a coffee shop and then take them and study in a library or wherever in their dorm room, then it helps them learn better, which is what we're all about.
Awesome. So then we basically see two different approaches, I would say, in this niche. We have StudyBlue and your, let's call it, business model or maybe positioning in the market, and of course a few others as well. So really focusing on the flashcards from the beginning, the note-taking as well. You always call it so nicely, you want to be the backpack of the students, so everything they need in that space to make learning efficient and effective. And then we have, for example, a language learning community, so having this community aspect, and I also just recently see the first ones adding flashcards. So of course in that context, like user-generated flashcards on Live Mocha, for example. So we see or the way I see it over there is much more as a feature, whereas for you it's really a core of the company. What do you think makes it distinct, and will you at some point in the future meet in the middle, as you also put a certain focus, of course, on the community aspect at StudyBlue.
Yeah, I think that's a great point in terms of meeting in the middle. I think, as you mentioned, for us, flashcards are very much a product, and we think that there is a lot of value in flashcards as a product. Perhaps for other companies that have started out doing something different, they now are seeing the value in flashcards and they're adding it as a feature. But to me, that speaks to just the importance of flashcards and makes the argument that flashcards themselves can be a product. But I think it's important to note that we understand that flashcards aren't a panacea in terms of learning. It's a step. It's a simple step. It's a baby step. It's a way to get users engaged and to get data about how they're learning. But there's so much more that can come from a flashcard. So if our goal is to become the adaptive learning tool for students of all types, we need to get them engaged first. And a good way to do that is to start with something very simple. That's kind of common knowledge, but important to recognize and articulate, I think. And then when we get users on StudyBlue and using flashcards and we know what they're studying, how they're studying, we can add so much more to it in terms of functionality and features. And that's what I mean when I say we're really early days in terms of functionality. So for us, we definitely view flashcards as a product, and there's so much value as it currently stands, but we also understand that it's not the end-all be-all, and there is a lot more to online learning than flashcards, but this is just, again, a first step of many.
It was a logic first step. Okay, awesome. Then allow me, as a last question for today, give me a little bit the perspective, if you can, of StudyBlue in the future.
Yeah, so again, we're very excited about the possibilities, and we're all about getting users right now so we can understand how they're learning more and understand how we can adapt the tool. So I think the holy grail for online learning, I think most folks will tell you this, is being able to deliver learning content at the right pace, at the right time, for the right students, when they need it, whether they're walking down the street or on a bus or sitting in front of their computer. And so that is the ultimate goal for us. And to get there, we feel like we can take a flashcard and we can understand what students are studying and then get thousands and tens of thousands of students studying those flashcards, and we can understand, for example, mitosis. What are the 10 best flashcards for mitosis that are out there? And then how can we deliver those to students who are studying mitosis around the world? So the future for us is all about adaptive and personalized learning, but we're still in the very early stages of that.
Great. So thank you very much, Matt. It's always a pleasure talking to you and really getting the perspective on this very, I think, exciting market segment of flashcards, note-taking, also community now. So thank you very much for your time and your insights and answers today.
Thank you, Kirsten. Much appreciated. Good to talk to you.